Welcome to the Hudson School District podcast series, Parenting with Pride, How to Parent the Middle Years.
You might have a grimace-worthy memory from middle school. I know I do. How can we help our child make the most of the middle school years and leave them with positive memories that last a lifetime?
Hello, we are happy to be back. Allison and Leah here, and we are teachers in the Hudson District and moms, and are here to share our experience and hopefully leave you with a couple tips or tricks as we talk about transitioning to middle school, how to parent the middle years. So we are so excited to have Kirsten Langer here, a counselor at the middle school. Lots of experience up there. And just talk through a couple of things. So transitioning from elementary school to middle school, so talking about those newbie sixth graders, parenting the middle school years, and how to handle the mood swings that come with those middle years. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
So start off right away. What do you as the counselors team and the teachers have in place that we as parents can expect for those sixth graders coming in?
First of all, I just want to say, I know that middle school gets so scary for everyone, parents, immediately when they haven't had a middle schooler before, immediately, it's that anxiety. And just wanted to reassure parents that we have done this hundreds of thousands of times. I've been in middle school for 21 years.
Oh.
We've done this, we've gotten kids through, and we are ready for them, even if you don't feel ready. So I just want to first just reassure.
I think right there, that was really powerful. Thank you for saying that.
But at the middle school, we are doing lots of things to get sixth graders ready. So that started back in the spring when myself and the other counselors visited fifth grade classrooms, and we talked to all of the fifth graders about what to expect, what middle school looks like, and gave them that first introduction. So we've started that process. Then they came and they took tours led by sixth graders, and it got to listen to some sixth graders talk about what middle school has been like for them. So they're already starting to be a little bit ready. So one of the programs that we have in place to help incoming sixth graders is called WEB, and WEB stands for Where Everybody Belongs.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it is, and that is a program that is an international program that we've adopted and been using for several years now. And it starts out with an orientation that sixth graders are all invited to. They come in. It's led by the counselors and some other teachers who are part of WEB. But then also the great thing about it is that there are eighth graders who are trained to be leaders. And so the eighth graders, it's great for the eighth graders and it's great for the sixth graders. So the eighth grader WEB leaders are there on that day of orientation. They lead a good chunk of the activities with the kids. And then throughout the year, they are back in the classroom in those advisory classes doing lessons with them, doing activities with their group of sixth graders. So they have that connection all the way through sixth grade.
Wow. And then
That's so cool.
Yeah, they get to see that eighth graders aren't scary.
Exactly.
They get to see that, they're nice and they're normal.
Well, and I think just that everybody's going through the same thing. I think it's great that teachers and counselors do all of these things and parents talk about all these things, but to see your peers actually in it with you is so powerful too.
Anything else throughout the year that a parent might be interested in knowing?
Yeah, and just knowing that first week of school, we are really going to take things slow with our sixth graders. The sixth grade teachers take a lot of time. We go through everything, every expectation of the school. How do you use your Chromebook? How do you log in? What do you need to know? How do you organize all those materials that were on the supply list? The teachers are going to help them. How do I organize this? What folder do I use for which class? We are going back to all of our students, not just sixth graders, having assignment notebooks that they are going to fill out, that every teacher every day is going to say, write this in your assignment notebook.
Yay!
Which I think is a fabulous, because when we talk about executive functioning skills, we were relying too much on Chromebooks, and we need to go back to teaching kids how to organize themselves. So that's something for this year.
Well, we talked about that in our first podcast episode too, how to really help your kids take ownership of their calendar and their schedule. And I feel like that's a really good, safe way. If all the teachers have the same expectation, it's not different. They know that that's following them throughout their day. I think that's really great.
Yeah.
Right. And if there's a teacher expectation to do it, because my fifth grader just had it all in his brain. I mean, it was fine. It was just all floating up there. So if the teachers are all like, hey, write it down.
Yep.
It's an expectation, and then those expectations become habits. That's awesome. I love that we're going back to that.
And I also think easy for parents then to see what's happening too. If you're checking that planner still, I mean, I'm still in that elementary mom mode. So I know that just letting go of that independence or having them be more independent, that's a great scaffold, I think.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I know, there's two big fears I think that sixth graders have when they come in. Their lockers, and are they going to get lost, or how do they find their classes?
I still have the locker dream. Oh my gosh.
And what if you know
I
your
am
combination, but it
middle-aged.
won't open?
Yes.
And you know you
went
had
the
it
wrong
right.
way. Which way was I supposed to go?
Okay.
Seriously. That is insane. I still have it.
And so sixth grade teachers are fabulous at teaching how to open lockers. We've all done it many times, and so we'll walk them through. If you have a combination lock at home and can practice it a little bit before you come in, just practicing knowing the whole right, left, right. If they can know that when they come in, they'll be in really good shape.
What about forgetting the combo? I would assume that all the teachers, there's some master list, but do you have a tip or trick that you tell students?
You know, I think the tip we usually tell them, it's written on their schedule.
Oh,
their
it
combination
is.
is at the top of their schedule that they get.
Well, there you go.
That they get when they start. So keeping that schedule in a place that they don't put your schedule in your locker then until you know your combination.
Right.
Keep that in a place and something that you're going to carry with you all the time, and then it's there.
Okay, that is great.
If they forget and they lose their schedule, the office can look up their combination.
So, best advice you could give for a sixth grader who's nervous? I think you covered a lot of this. Remembering there's lots of people to help you. There's that web leader, people wearing the
web
shirts.
leaders wearing the shirts. I think a big thing is just to keep an open mind. We've been telling them all of these things for the last couple months of what to expect and how you're going to do this. It'll make sense when you get there.
Oh, that's a good one.
So if you don't, even though you might not quite get it yet, it will make sense when you get there as you just start to live it. Sometimes you just have to live it, and it just will come together and make sense. They will start to see, like, oh, that's what they meant by the every other day classes or the things. So they just kind of have to keep an open mind, know that there are people to help you, and you will get it within a couple days. It will click.
I like that phrase. Sometimes you just have to live it. And I think that really goes back to what we've talked about in previous podcasts about anxiety. You have to just kind of sit with it, and it will work out.
Yep.
It will work out.
It's okay for things to be a little bit hard.
Yes, or uncomfortable.
Yep.
Right,
Yep.
right. All right, so for the nervous parent of those newbie sixth graders, what message would you have for them?
Yeah, I think that goes back to just trust that we know what we're doing, that we have led other sixth graders through this. We've been in middle school a long time. So we will help them. We know what to do to help them. And just like stay calm. Don't let your kids see how nervous you might be, because if you are projecting that anxiety, they're going to feel it too. So just kind of trying to stay calm, even if it's happening call a friend. Don't let your kid know how bad.
Great advice. Yeah. Yes, great advice. I have had to hide the tears or fake it till you make it kind of attitude, like, it's going to be great. I'm so excited for you. And I personally have had one go all the way through middle school, and all of these things. He had these worries, I had these worries, and we just kept talking through it and working through it. And I have reached out to you personally about different things. So I know, speaking as a parent in this moment, that the middle school counseling team is very open and willing to meet with you and talk with you as a parent too. Yeah. So I have nothing but wonderful things to say about the middle school team, and I'm so happy you could join us. So now, how to parent all the middle schoolers, not just the sixth graders.
Right. So we talked, or I think I mentioned this a little bit ago, where that letting go and that independence with that schedule, having them all have a planner. So what is reasonable for them to handle independently? How can we encourage that independence? I mean, I think I live in that early elementary age, and I keep joking with my husband, like, okay, I'm kind of aged out. Like, I've aged out of parenting because that
this
birth
is where
to
my
7,
schooling
like
took
this
me.
is where, this is it. This is all I've got. It's up to you. And we kind of joke about that, but really, like, all joking aside, what do we do? How do we parent this independent but not quite so much phase?
I think we think about the way that we teach any kind of skill, right? We start by we show it, we do it together, and then we gradually are going to release responsibility on. So as they're coming into middle school at 6th grade, they should be responsible to write their own things in their assignment notebook, to know what materials they should bring home at the end of the day, what homework they still have. The great thing is for a lot of our 6th graders, at the end of the day, they have what we call PAT, personal assistance time. Some kids have music, but the kids, when they have that PAT time, that's a great time at the end of the day to organize and know this is what I have to take home and do tonight. So 6th graders should be able to do that. Like kind of, we want them to be able to start to take control over knowing what their work is, what they are responsible for.
And we just talked to Sarah Fleer, elementary school counselor, on a last podcast episode just about the rescuing piece and how, oh gosh, my daughter's backpack is in the car, my son's lunchbox is on the counter, I should probably just go home quick, just really quick and grab it. And how that rescuing can kind of then start that cycle of worrying about things that can be solved at school. Like, I forgot my lunch, I can sign up for a hot lunch at school. Yep. What about, I'm just thinking about myself and how I like to know what's going on, and I like to be making sure that my kids don't have that fail experience. I think all of us moms and dads feel that way. But middle school, still a pretty safe place to forget your backpack at home and not have that rescue mentality from parents.
Yeah, exactly. We want to teach them to problem solve. So part of middle school, like as a middle school parent, what we would hope you would do is help them to talk through how would you solve this problem. So they're at home and they don't know what their homework is that night. They forgot. They didn't write it down. They didn't know. How do you think you could solve that problem? And maybe you're coaching them through. Is there a friend that you could ask? Is there a resource online? Because there is.
Hint.
But trying to talking them through versus just that jumping right in and rescuing. And okay, I'll email your teacher. Maybe like you didn't understand something in class. How about how could you send an email to your teacher about this?
Right.
So starting to help them be able to take responsibility for solving their own problems. But while you're supporting them, because that is the thing. I think sometimes we think as parents, like, oh, they got to middle school now. I'm supposed to completely back off, and they're not ready for us to back off.
Right? They still need us.
They still need us
to be their mom and dad.
They still need us a lot. But it's changes to how do we help them solve that problem instead of jumping in.
Something you just said I want to point out is helping them draft that email, or helping them think about ways they can solve this problem. I think about what is our ultimate goal. We want our child to be able to, email that person back about that job interview and have a nice professional response. We want them to be able to reach out to a college professor or, have a calm phone call on the phone about a problem with the car. So we need to coach them in the middle school years and high school years so that they learn how to do these things on their own. And I think I have definitely helped my oldest. Okay, what do you want to say in this? And it's, okay, try not to laugh because that was not what you should say. Well, how about you try this?
Right.
And okay, you can't just say bye. How are you going to end that email? So really coaching them through those things, because what's the ultimate goal? We want them to be able to do this on their own, and we want them to grow up to be humans that can communicate well, can communicate appropriately, friendly, respectfully.
Exactly. So I'm just thinking, like, at our house, I think middle school, I don't think 6th grade, but I think like by the time we were in 8th grade, my sister and my mom would say, okay, you need a haircut appointment. Here's the phone number to call the salon. She would stand by us, but it was like by the time we were in that 8th, 9th grade, she was saying, okay, here you go. You call and make the appointment. Here's our schedule. And I remember having my hand was shaking on the phone and I was so nervous, but that whole being able to communicate effectively with your teachers, who it's that safety net, right, is going to help you call with your car problem or haircut appointment or doctor or whatever it might be, because we aren't going to be doing that for them.
Let's hope.
Forever.
Right? Let's hope.
I think we're not going to.
Key word you just said was safety net. Right now in the middle years, we're a safety net. Middle school has so many safety nets. So this is a great time for them to try and learn and practice all of these skills that we're talking about with us as the safety net.
Yeah, really, the stakes are kind of low. Like for those mistakes, the stakes are still pretty low. You're not going to mess up your whole life mostly with what you do in middle school. So this is it's a safe place to fail at some things and to learn how to deal with that.
So thinking about that safety net and a safe place to fail, and just myself as a parent, and I just want to be like, I want everyone to be happy and smiling, and I want everything to go smooth. I think we all feel that way. But then logical Allison says, okay, you need to work through these feelings, and I can't just tell you how to feel. When should I be the one to reach out to a teacher or a counselor?
Yeah.
Like, when do I stop coaching and take over that for my child?
Yeah.
Without being the
helicopter.
helicopter, without
Right,
smashing their independence.
There'll be the helicopter or the bulldozer who's going to come in and just
Oh,
clear everything,
bulldozer,
clear everything out of the way.
Well,
Because that isn't teaching them anything.
no, and I just like balancing that relationship, right, of parent
Okay.
and teacher.
Yeah. I think you are, as a parent, you're the expert on your child. You know them. So you're the one who's be able to watch and see when there is those ups and downs. There's going to be ups and downs, but when you're noticing that there's been a problem over a longer period of time, that would be a good time to reach out. So
Sure.
if you see something with them emotionally, yes, we're going to have some ups and downs, but when you see that those downs have gone on for a while, for a
Like
week or two,
uncharacteristically.
yes,
Sure.
things have changed and they're down for like that, 2 weeks or more or something like that. That's a good time to reach out to a counselor to see to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. So you just kind of touched on this, that like up and down with moods and feelings. All of these things tell us that something is going on. So being really attuned to what your child is typically behaving like. I mean, I think about at my house right now, there are a lot of up and downs, but that's because we have a 5-year-old who's starting school and his behavior is kind of up and down. So thinking about setting aside time as a family to talk about these moods and what's happening. So we kind of have a list here of things that are important, like bedtime, healthy diet, making sure things are organized. Like, what would you suggest to parents about that?
I think those things are so important. I cannot tell you the number of middle school students that I talk to who tell me that they've like, oh, I was up till midnight last night. I was up till 1 a.m. Like, that is not okay.
Right. My face right now is like, ooh, that's very late.
So we think about developmentally those kids in middle school need, it's like 11 hours of sleep, 10, 11 hours of sleep. It's a way more sleep than what I would have thought that they need.
Right.
And so that sleep and having a schedule, that is all so important to take care of their health in that way.
Well, and they won't want to. We think, like when they were little, the early bedtime, and then the bedtime got later and later. And so for me, naturally, I'm like, well, yeah, the bedtime keeps getting later. But no, at this age, they still need us to say, all right, this is what's recommended. You're going to be your best if we can aim for 10 hours. And you have to get up at this time, so let's work backwards. And setting those boundaries, not just with the bedtime, but with a lot of things, because even though we're trying to encourage independence and foster that, it's okay to still set boundaries. I know I've been called mean. Real big meanie. Maybe some other names
Any
in
good
there.
parent has.
Yeah, right.
Yes. And I will say to them, nope, I'm not being mean. I'm parenting you. This is safe. This is the guideline. And I have to stick to what I know in my heart is the right thing. Whether he's mad at me or she's upset with me or, they're pouting or slamming the door, let them have that moment. Stick to those boundaries that you know are
Any middle schooler is going to fight back against boundaries. That's their job. That's what they're trying to figure out where they fit, like where are the limits? Like where are my limits?
Right. And they'll push until they find it.
Yeah. And when they keep pushing and there's no limits there and the boundaries keep going away and getting further, they're going to keep trying further and further until they finally find that boundary.
Or I feel like if it's one time my mom and dad said bedtime was at 8 o'clock, but then the next day they didn't really, if it's inconsistent. So if the boundary is one way, one day, and then I think about like screen time.
Having those boundaries make kids feel safe.
Right.
And they need that safety to know that somebody's going to care when I do these things, that somebody's going to put some rules in place to keep me safe. they're not going to thank you.
No. No.
Oh, dear
Gosh,
Mom.
thanks,
Thank
Mom.
you.
Yeah.
But also going back to that, when we know what to expect and it's consistent, it lessens our anxiety as people, as humans. And so then again, they're not saying, please give me a routine so that I feel less stressed. That's not going to come out of a 13-year-old's mouth, but we know as adults when we have a routine, a system in place that is going to help. The other thing that we had talked about was, or that we had put on our list here, healthy diet too. I think it's so important to continue to encourage them, even though they're might be home at different times when you're not home now with that independence and age growing up, but encourage them to keep eating healthy and scoop them into things. Just like we were talking about walking them through writing that email, have them come grocery shopping, having them make a meal, because independence can also look different at home as far as chores and things that they're helping with. And those moments allow for conversation.
They totally do.
Yes. So let's jump to that. So conversations, talking to your kids about the hard things when they're in this pushback stage of life. Kirsten, I just think this has been my life for the last 3 years. Like, the slamming doors, the walking away, the sulking around the house, just all these things. And we have done a lot of talking. We have boys in this stage right now. So this is normal that you're feeling sad, or this is normal that you're upset with us, and validating those feelings. But we still need to parent while they're moody. So choosing your battles was one thing my husband and I talk about. Like, is this really worth it right now? He's definitely, his hair. I strongly dislike his haircut, but really, is this something I need to battle him on? It's the trend.
Only
oh
when
boy.
it's family pictures.
If he would have seen my 6th grade banks, let's be real. So
gosh.
choosing your battles, right? Yeah. And the other one was right time, right place. And that brings me back to those making dinner, doing the dishes together. That's when I can get him to have those conversations, when it's moments where we're kind of distracted doing other things. He doesn't have to make eye contact with me. Yes. And it's a relaxed environment, not so sitting across the table, looking at each other. We're going to talk about your homework. We're going to talk about your grades.
Question after question after question.
We used to have
that's
family
just,
meetings.
Shut down.
And that was what it was. It was family meetings. And my sister and I, we still giggle about it because it was so uncomfortable. And we might have had questions or things to say that could have been kind of hard to ask, but it was like, I don't want to because it's going to be a family meeting about it, and it's going to be this big, intense agenda. And so I think making sure that you're not afraid to answer their hard questions and make yourself available for those things
Be
too.
present.
The making yourself available, I think it's important to just kind of watch for your moments, because they'll give you
Right.
signals that they're ready to talk about something.
Well, and I
and
even
it needs to be on their time.
Yes, and I even think about like our 9-year-olds. Like they've had some pretty good questions about like growing up and what does this look like and what does this feel like. And I could take one route and just kind of ignore it and divert the questions and think like, oh, you're not even 12. We'll talk about this when you're 12. We'll talk about this when you're older. But I feel like if they're asking me, they want to know, and I'm going to tell them in age-appropriate language. So I think finding the moment and making sure that you're open for that conversation, but then giving them little tidbits maybe of information and not the whole package right away, maybe.
Right.
I don't know, waiting for what they're ready for.
Another spot I have found that works for me is talking in the car.
Yes.
When I'm driving, they're sitting shotgun, and it's just an easy conversation. And if it gets to a lull, I can turn up the music a little bit. But, just, hey, how did those tryouts go? Oh, you said good. Okay. What was good? Or, just very like nonchalant but also not to shy away from those moments too, and not to shy away from those hard topics, but being present in that moment and letting them know that you're there for them. I know the other thing is my middle schoolers, hugging is now pretty much off the table unless some disaster occurred. But, so that's not open anymore. But even just like walking by and squeezing the shoulder or showing them that you care, finding that way as they age. What is their love language? What is it? The other day, I sat down on the couch between them. They were both gaming. What are you doing? And pretty soon they're teaching me the game. They're making me play. And it was this moment where I'm like, I'm just going to die, you guys. I don't know what's happening here. So, but it was a really, And I just think the power that we have as parents to be vulnerable, to go out and play basketball with them, even if we're horrible, or sit down on the couch and ask them about the videos they're watching, or do that silly dance with them. So we have to continue to be there for them and strengthen the relationship now in new ways as they are aging.
Take an interest in what they're doing. Ask them questions about what they're watching on YouTube. My 16 and 19-year-old will bring up things that they're watching on YouTube, and I'm like, I really don't care. I'm really not interested, but I'm going to.
But I'm happy that you care about
and
this.
But to them, I'm going to be interested. I'm going to act like I am interested. I'm going to listen to what they have to say because it's something that they want to communicate to me. It's about just waiting for them to be ready. And just
well, and little kid mom here again, but like I even think about that involvement in things that they like video games and YouTube channels. It's also like a safety thing too, right? If they're involving me with what they like, then I can kind of be aware of what's around them for potential issues that might come up. So
and you just
it's like
it's really taking their lead on things.
Right.
Like going, don't push, but be there and so that they know. Just being around. Last night my 16-year-old lay down on the couch next to me and had his head in my lap. Like that doesn't happen often. But it does still happen. Still happen.
Right.
You just have to kind of but you follow his. I wouldn't say, "Here, come
on
and sit
over."
with me and
Yes,
snuggle with you.
Okay, I bet you didn't
Snuggle
move.
you.
I bet you just sat there like, wait, is this really happening? And I hope it lasts like a minute.
That's great. Taking their lead. That's something I'm going to take away from this for sure. The other thing I was thinking is just keeping it simple. Being careful not to promise or give signals that you support everything, but simply, I'm here for you. I'll always love you. I'm always willing to listen. We have had a lot of conversations about teachers and activities and things that he didn't want to do or did, and so just I'm hearing what you say, and I'm always going to listen to, and just keep it simple. I've been through middle school too. Let me know if you want to talk. Yeah.
That's a great line.
So thank you so much for being with us. Any last piece of advice you want to give to middle school parents as they listen to this?
I think the biggest thing that I would want middle school parents to know coming in is just to think of all of us at school as part of your team. We are on the same side. We have the same goal for your kid that you do. We want them to be successful. We want them to have friends. We want them to be happy and involved. And so we hope that parents see us as somebody who's on their team versus coming in as like, my child said this or this happened in class today. Like we're on your side. We don't want them to struggle either. We are your partner.
Wow, I think that's great. Thank you so much, Kirsten. Thank you so much.
We have a lot more conversations ahead in our Parenting with Pride series. You can find the Hudson School District Podcast Library on our website, hudsonraiders.org, under the Families tab, and on Spotify. If you have questions, send an email to connections@hudsonraiders.org.